Hello everyone, it's Darkfire07. Today we are playing Blue-Red Murktide with Tidebinder. This card is great in a tempo decks like this one, and I really like what is it doing for hard matchups of this deck. So the Tidebinder is very versatile card. It can counter a variety of effects in the format, and particularly against some hard matchups for the deck. It counters the ring effect, it counters a lot of stuff against the Tron. There's absolutely no deck in format where Tidebinder doesn't do anything. Of course, sometimes it will be 3 mana, 3/2 vanilla guy just attacking for 3 damage, but that's also fine. Sometimes you just need that. But also when it's important and when you hold this for interaction, you will often get really relevant activations from the Tidebinder, and you will counter really relevant permanents that will win you the game. Also, with the Ragavan deck, you get to access, sometimes play Tidebinder on turn 2, and just sometimes turn 2 Tidebinder countering a fetch can be game winning immediately. Okay, other than that, we have classic Murktide shell. We just fitted 4 Tidebinders and some on the sideboard 2 Narset to fight Beans decks, a Subtlety Fury against Scam decks. We have Blood Moon. Thanks to the Tidebinder, we can play a Flame of Anor on the sideboard. Very good card to have on the sideboard, doing a lot of stuff in the games. You need this effect. It can be very efficient. Just one graveyard hate piece and 1 explosives, 1 Filigree Sylex split. Yeah, okay, so that is it. Let's go check out the gameplay. I played only a single league with this deck. It immediately felt very good. About Tidebinder, I think after this little experience of playing it, I would play at least 3 copies of this card in a deck, and I would probably just keep playing 4 of those for the moment. I really like 4 at the moment, but I would consider trimming to 3 if I know my meta game. And okay, so opponent going for Orcish Bowmaster here, and I have Preordain in my graveyard, and I'm hoping to hit something with heat, and I hit the Tidebinder, so hit the creature, my Dragon Ray Channel gets Delirium, and this was like crucial part of this match, just triggering Delirium here, attacking for 3, opponent not really being able to answer it. Okay, and yeah, so opponent just concedes the game here. I guess their hand was pretty bad or whatever, but yeah, my hand was great, and I don't know why they conceded, but let's go check out the game 2. Okay, so in the game 2, decent hand, nothing special, unfortunately no threats to start the game. And yeah, okay, opponent was I wasn't really sure what was opponent playing, but they were on the Vengevine deck, playing a lot of graveyard synergies like Soul of the Lost, Inti, Vengevine, Bloodgust, a lot of graveyard synergies. So they were playing first, and I was not sure what I was boarding against. So we are going to check out the sideboard in the game 3, where I know what I'm playing against. Okay, so opponent puts Ox of Agonas into the graveyard, plays Asmo, plays the cookbook. I go for Expressive Iteration, and going for the heat, killing Asmo, attacking my opponent for 3, putting them on 11. Yeah. Opponent now has Bowmasters and Inquiry. I didn't really expect this. Yeah, it was kind of odd, really didn't expect this Inquiry, but it was very good for the opponent. They had put a Bowmaster on the field and filled their graveyard, which means they can play Ox of Agonas next turn. And amazingly, I had lethal next turn, just Murktide plus Bolt, but amazingly opponent goes pitch cast Fury, then cast Ox from the graveyard, trigger the Vengevine, and then actually draws another Fury and pitch cast another Fury to kill my Murktide. Really good draws here. So I didn't have much chance after this. I went just Bolt on Vengevine to slow down my opponent, go for Flame of Anor, try to draw something, but I just really didn't have much chance after that. But here I draw another Murktide as a 5/5, so at least it can block the Orc Army token, but my opponent has 2 creatures to trigger Vengevine immediately, and that is lethal. So let's check out game 3. Okay, had to mulligan, that one wasn't really good. So I had double Tidebinder here, and I decided to keep both of them in starting hand because I have Ragavan, and I was hoping to try to trigger some relevant ability like fetch ability on turn 2, but opponent plays Inquiry, puts Vengevine into their graveyard and Rotvala on the field. Unfortunately, it discarded my land I had, so I had to dig for land, found it. But it wasn't easy situation for me at this moment. I went for Heat, their Neonate, and just prepare to play the Murktide, but then I draw a third land and I decided to hold a turn to try to get something relevant with Tidebinder like fetch or whatever, but opponent plays Soul of the Lost and it's very big at this point, 7/8, so I can't really wait with Tidebinder. I have to play it to be able to chump block and just hope to win with a double Murktide in my hand. Okay, so opponent attacking with Soul of the Lost, giving it trample with Inti. This means that I have to get rid of Inti or my opponent just does the lethal. And since they used the Feed Swarm to kill my Murktide, they put themselves to 6 life. And I was able to jump with Tidebinder and deal lethal with Murktide. Opponent played too risky and it didn't pay off for them, so that was the lethal attack for the Murktide, and that was the match. Okay, so let's check out match 2. No much hate, difficult matchup actually, because I just have one graveyard hate piece, so I have to rely on removal to deal with all their stuff, which is not easy. So this deck mostly loses to graveyard decks like this one, but I was able to win this time thanks to the Murktides. Okay, so went for Bauble here, checking out the top of my library and passing the turn. Opponent was playing 4-color Omnat, going for double Triumph there. I don't have any interaction at this moment, I don't have any instant and sorceries in the graveyard to play Murktide or even Delirium to kill Omnat. I saw Omnat in their hand, so not a great situation at the moment. I go for Expressive Iteration, putting a Counterspell into hand and passing the turn. Now I got my Delirium, so if they go for Omnat I can just heat it and then untap, play Murktide, hold Counterspell. That is situation I wanted to be in, and yeah, it was fine. Okay, so drawing Ragavan here. I had multiple options, but I decided to do that one I mentioned. Just play Murktide, hold Counterspell, pass the turn. Murktide is a 6/6, but with Bolt and Ragavan in hand, it can easily be like a 2-turn clock. Opponent goes for Bloodbraid into Shardless. hitting another Beanstalk. I let this resolve. I really, what I want to do here is counter Solitude, and I can't play the long game. I need to try to kill my opponent as soon as possible, so I let the beans resolve and try to save removal either for Leyline Binding or Solitude. I go just dash Ragavan here, just like trade with one of their creatures. Putting my opponents to 10 life, hoping they fetch, so with a bolt next turn that could mean possible lethal. Opponent goes for Teferi and I have to counterspell that, definitely. Then they shock in the breeding pool, which means I have a potential lethal, but opponent has Cosmic Rebirth, unfortunately, and this means gain 3 life, put them back to 11 and get Teferi on the field, bounce my Murktide. Not a great position. Nothing I can do, just play a 5/5 Murktide, play Tidebinder, and since I can only do it on my turn with Teferi on the field and pass the turn. My opponent 2 Beanstalks on the field and a bunch of cards in a hand and nothing I can do here. That is the game over. Okay, so let's check out game 2. Okay, so in this matchup I boarded out bolts. Bolts are really mediocre against Omnath. It doesn't kill mostly Teferi when they plus it. It doesn't kill Omnath, and I don't care that much about killing Bloodbraid Elf or Shardless Agent. So the bolt can go face, of course, but it's not really the card you want to draw in most situations. And of course what I want here are definitely Blood Moons from the sideboard. I trimmed Tidebinders. Tidebinders are great against ring variants, but they're okay against Beanstalks, but not 4 of great, so I trimmed to 2 copies. It can counter fetches, which can be relevant. It can counter Beanstalk abilities, make their Beanstalk do nothing, and of stuff like Omnath, of course, and Pitch Elementals. Okay, so in game 2, Resolve the Blood Moon didn't have a basic, but I had a Ragavan and my opponent only had a forest, so their only way to kill a Ragavan right now is pitch casting Solitude. And I also have a Dragon Ray Channeler I can cast. Yeah, so I just go for the Channeler, dashing the Ragavan. They can kill the Channeler with Fury, and the opponent is struggling here, trying to find lands, trying to find basics, and they find a 4th land, so they can go for a Bloodbraid Elf, finding them the Beanstalk, but that is not really enough at the moment. I go for Heat, kill the Bloodbraid Elf, so I can continue just dashing Ragavan, going for Bauble, trying to find Delirium to finish this game as soon as possible, finally get it. So now with the DRC and Ragavan I'm actually attacking for 5, that is a lot. Also now I can hold a Tidebinder for their turn. I have 3 mana, so even if they get something like Leyline to kill Blood Moon or something like that, I can use Tidebinder on it. Yeah. Opponent goes for the Beanstalk. I decide to play the Tidebinder, counter the Beanstalk, not let them draw that card. And now I have 8 damage, that is pretty close to lethal. I go for 8. My opponent in a pretty bad situation. I was thinking about just going for Subtlety, but there is no point. They're just making my channeler 1/1, which is totally fine. I don't have lethal this turn anyway, so I just let my opponent put themselves on 3 life and hold Subtlety for their turn in case they draw stuff like Fury. So I did play Preordain, and my opponent decides to use Commandeer on it. But I mean, even if they get something and do find Fury, it is still pretty hard situation for them. They're on 3 life. Opponent draws actually 3rd Beanstalk, draws 2nd basic, but that is not enough. Of course I go for another Ragavan dash, and that is lethal. They try to dig for another Fire Ice, didn't find it, and that is game over. Okay, so let's check out game 3. Okay, so keeping 1 lander with cantrips and double moon, I think this is pretty good spot to be in. Ragavan is pretty good against the Cascade variants of Beans. It's good against all Cascade decks and also against Cascade against Beans. And yeah, opponent again goes for Forest here, finding the Beanstalk. And again, replay from the first match. I don't have basic again, but I connect with Ragavan and play turn 2 Blood Moon. Of course, this is pretty hard situation for the opponent. I also have Subtlety in case they try to kill my Ragavan. Ragavan very important for me right now, my only source of blue mana, so definitely have to protect it. Opponent again, same situation as last game. They trying to dig out of they trying to dig their basics or dig their furies or whatever. I connect with Ragavan again. Now I can go for Expressive Iteration. Basically a replay of last match. Almost exact same game. Opponent with Beanstalks on the field, me with Ragavan and Blood Moon. And yeah, just Blood Moon again, easy winning this matchup. Of course, I had Ragavan to put it in play on turn 2, and the opponent just wasn't really ready for it. And as I said, they don't have much solutions for Ragavan as those non-cascade decks. No Vren and 6, which is like main Ragavan, non-dashed Ragavan killer. Opponent goes for Bloodbraid Elf and cascades into Teferi, but I have Subtlety to get rid of it. They can't actually cast it, so they put it on the bottom. And yeah, they go for attack with Bloodbraid. That is not a big deal. I again can go for Ragavan Dash and play another Preordain, trying to dig that blue basic. This time opponent has Solitude, so I just have to take more damage from Bloodbraid Elf and just naturally try to draw cards, trying to find that basics. I find a removal for Bloodbraid, so opponent can pressure me with Bloodbraid Elf damage. And yes, so we are just now passing turns, both players not doing anything, but yeah, it's pretty hard for my opponent to find that single basic they need, probably like Plains, to cast the Leyline Binding. I'm going for the bubbles again, just hoping to hit another Ragavan. so I can replay my Preordains or just basic, of course. But also there are a lot of decent top decks at this point. Dragon Ray Channelers are good. Removal is always fine, like a Heat when you have Delirium. Opponent again passes, and now I finally find that basic I can go for Preordain, putting Unholy Heat in my hand, just in case I have one removal, in case they go for Bloodbraid Elf again. And yeah, so didn't have that second basic I needed to finish the game faster with Murktide, but I'm attacking with Channeler, doing surveil abilities, holding Unholy Heat if they present a blocker. Opponent don't have a removal for a Channeler, and I find another one, and that is just really good in a situation like this. They don't have removals, and digging more cards is very easy with 2 Channelers and Expressive Iteration. I even find the second island, and now I'm tapping with 2 Channelers, and now with the second island opponent also finally finds that second basic they were looking for, but it is not the one they wanted. So I had multiple options here, just hold a Counterspell, but I also decide to just go for Narset, prevent them from doing more Beanstalk draws if they get something like a Fury. Drawing more cards with Narset, and digging for more hits, getting Delirium again, killing their blockers, and just making Channelers delirious again, and doing the lethal next turn. That is the match. Very long games, of course, against 4-color Omnat, but we got there. Okay, so let's check out match 3. Blood Moon is really efficient, easy way to win that matchup. If you're like expecting a lot of it, I would suggest like playing 3 on the sideboard. Blood Moon is just, as you could see right now, really efficient. Opponent has to go for early basic. If they don't do it, they are in a real problem. And they need to go for planes. If they don't go for planes, they won't be able to get mana to play Leyline, and that is basically their only solution for Moon. Okay, so opponent playing Creativity. Didn't see Creativity for a long time, but recently played some leagues against it. My Counterspell is dead here because they have the Fairy, and this game, yeah, pretty bad situation for me. I don't have any chance. Opponent goes for Creativity, and that is game over. So let's check out the remaining 2 games, how I was able to win. Let's see my sideboarding plan. Okay, again, the Creativity is not very usual matchup right now, and I wanted to board in the cheap interaction, like Flusterstorms are great. Any additional counters you have are definitely good. Also some removal, instant speed removal is great. I again decided to trim 2 Tidebinders, because yeah, this type of decks don't really have that many of the relevant abilities. Of course, they have stuff like Fable and fetches, of course, and Archon Trigger, but that's why I kept 2 Tidebinders in, but didn't really want all 4. Okay, so trimmed 1 Bauble and a couple of Preordains to fit some sideboard cards, and that's it. Okay, so holding 2 Counterspells and Murktide Regent. Also, I have engineered explosives on the field, so really big dominance here. I wanted to play Murktide now, but I draw into Filigree Sylex, so I decide just to jam the Filigree Sylex. If opponent tries to creativity, I need to first crack the explosives and then Sylex after that. If I crack the Sylex, I will kill my own explosives, so I have to be careful about that. Playing a long game against creativity can be pretty tricky, and you really have to play all this very patiently and correctly, and don't if you rush Murktide, you can really put yourself in a bad spot. Okay, so I was patient with Murktide, plays it here as a 6/6 with 2 counter spells backup. Also, I have explosives for next turn. Opponent was hoping to play around explosives here, and they decided to go for creativity while I had 1 mana open, so I was able to just counter the creativity with my Unholy Heat. This was great news for me. Now I'm tapped with explosives, another Flusterstorm and Bolt in my hand. And okay, so opponent goes for creativity on my Murktide and their dwarf token. So even if I bolt their dwarf token in response, they still kill my Murktide. And I had lethal for the next turn, so I decided to go bolt face and then Flusterstorm the creativity. This way I have lethal for the next turn, and they can't pay the storm for the creativity, so I also still have mana open for explosives if needed. So that is a win there against creativity. Let's check out game 3. Fluster, very useful from the sideboard in this matchup. Impossible to counter, 1 mana counter that's very efficient in this matchup. You can jam your creatures and just hold 1 mana and be completely safe from the creativity in the early turns, in the first 5-6 turns. Okay, so boarded in Blood Moons. Blood Moons are also very good against creativity. Yeah, I had plenty of options here, and as I said, Flusterstorm really keep you safe against creativity. You know that they can't beat you if you're holding a Flusterstorm, so I was able to risk it and go for Expressive Iteration there. It got countered, but that's fine. Next turn I just jammed the Channeler, and again thanks to the Flusterstorm I'm again safe to just go Counterspell there and again hold Bolt plus Fluster on their turn, which guarantees me to counter the creativity, but they played Teferi, and yeah, that almost costed me the game. Luckily my opponent decides to downtick Teferi to draw a card, and that meant I was able to just bolt Teferi and continue playing normal game, but I almost put myself in a bad position unnecessarily. And yeah, this is great. The strongest position when playing Murktide is often just casting Murktide with Counterspell open. I couldn't risk their countering removal spell. I draw a Subtlety, so I can play Subtlety instant speed, end of turn, and start attacking. Opponent has removal, that is fine. Okay, so opponent again goes for a dwarf token, and I decide to end of turn go for Otawara on binding, and opponent didn't decide not to go for binding immediately, and that was a mistake. So now I got the attacker. I got a 3/3 attacker, which I can grow with other Murktide in my hand. Opponent was hoping to get me with creativity there. I have Pierce, I also have the Flusterstorm. And yeah, I had plenty of options there, but decided against Murktide and just go for Filigree Sylex there. When you play Filigree Sylex against creativity, you are completely safe until they kill this card, and even if they kill it, in response I get to kill the two dwarfs on their field. So they go for Prismatic, they have to target this, and I kill their stuff. Opponent plays Hiretsugu. They went for Hiretsugu because they saw a Channeler and Ragavan, but I don't think that's a great strategy. I was able to go for my Murktide there, grow my second Murktide for 8, immediately attack and finish off my opponent with Bolt and backup Flusterstorm in my hand. That's the game and the match. Okay, so we can now check out match 4. We'll go to the wins first and then watch the defeat in the end. Okay, playing second, decent hand, no spells, but we have double Ragavan and the Bauble. I go for a Bauble there, fetching into Steam Vents, playing Ragavan. Opponent also went Preordain Steam Vents, but then they have Stomping Ground to bolt. I was not sure what my opponent was playing at the moment. Also exiled the Teferi, so now I know they are 4 color. So I just assume they're playing 4 color Omnat, but then they play Dwarven Mine, so it seemed like playing against creativity again, which is kind of funny because I didn't play against that for a lot of time. Opponent goes for Pierce, my Preordain. I decide to just pay the mana and resolve my Preordain. Then they resolve Vren. But I can play the Channeler with Delirium and hold a Pierce for their turn. Now I'm safe if they don't have their Pierce, at least for this one turn. Unfortunately, they resolve Teferi, which means my Pierce is not really working. So I must try to attack Teferi. At the moment I don't have other options. Opponent trades with Teferi and with Ragavan, and I play my Murktide, play all threats I can, and I really wanted to leave some cards for Delirium in the graveyard, but opponent has the creativity and protected with Teferi. I can't do anything there, and again they got me in a game 1. But these games against creativity is much easier when you're boarding in cards like Filigree Sylex, Flusterstorms, Engineered Explosives. This card is just so good in this matchup and can really help you stabilize in the mid game and dominate in the late game. Okay, so opponent kills my Channeler, but I can now freely just jam the Sylex on turn 2. Opponent must use a removal on the Sylex, and I have the Tidebinder here. Opponent decides not to fetch, and that was a mistake. They tried to fetch end of my turn, but they forgot this card exists. So I'm able to counter that second fetch, and imagine just how bad that situation is for the creativity player. I just completely time walked them, and I was able to kill Vren 6 there, but I decided to just go for the face, try to attack them, put them too low, and I resolve my Blood Moon. Opponent actually has planes. I was not sure they're playing even that. I had Flusterstorm. Fluster doesn't counter the binding, and they targeted the Tidebinder, so I was not able to counter this. Okay, opponent again going for binding to take my channeler. In response, I bolt them to just to do the surveillability. Also, I was hoping to hit Delirium. Finally find the Expressive Iteration, which gives me Delirium, also lets me dig some cards. And now I decide to tick up the Filigree Sylex so I can actually deal with Wrenn 6 before they ulti into Prismatic Ending. They have Purge to deal with my Ragavan, so it is a long game, but yeah, they have a really hard time dealing with Blood Moon. Their mana base is really fragile, and I tick Filigree Sylex up in the right time to kill Wrenn 6 before their ulti and before they can do more Jetmir Garden, returning and drawing cards. My opponent is on 3. I'm hoping to find another bolt from the top or stuff like Ragavan Dash and something, or DRC. I find Tidebinder on top. I also had the Otawara, so I can potentially just use Otawara on their binding, but they can just replay it. So I can go for Tidebinder there and present another lethal attacker for the next turn. Opponent doesn't have solution for it, and that is the game. So let's check out game 3. Same sideboarding as in the last match. Just trimming some Preordains, trimming some Tidebinders. Tidebinder is good, but I like them 2 off in this matchup. Okay, so you must notice that I didn't play Dragon Rage Channeler here. That was on purpose because I had Preordain for turn 1 and Bauble on turn 2. This means I can get Delirium quite easily, and I got the second channeler on the field and played Bauble and get a Delirium on both of my channelers, and this is really good tempo here. Opponent has removal for one of those, but I untap with one of the channelers, and now I have Spell Piece plus Flusterstorm also hits the Wrenn 6 because it was already on 6 counters and too close to ulti anyway. I let them resolve the second Wrenn. I don't care much about this one that only has like 4 counters. I'm hoping to finish the game before that becomes relevant. I ditch the Pierce to the graveyard, but I hold a Counterspell on top. So yeah, this hand is excellent. Pierce, Fluster, Counter, and Tidebinder. So I have solution to whatever. Yeah, so I can counter a fetch, I can counter binding. But what I really needed is just vanilla attacker this time, and I played it just as a 3 mana 3/2 attacker. That was all I needed from it this time, and it did its job. Opponent can find more dwarfs, try to get creativity, but I have too much permission here. I have counter, and opponent concedes. That is the match. Another win against creativity. As I said, didn't play against that deck for a long time, but here it is, 2 in the league, in same league, and I saw some people played this deck recently, so I guess it did some meaningful result somewhere. Okay, yeah. and I lost to a very strong deck. The deck I was playing a lot in the last few days. I just played a bunch of leagues with this deck, like 3 or 4 days of constant just jamming different variations of this list. I'm really have high hopes for this deck, the Inti Saga. I did Rakdos variants, multiple Rakdos variants with DRC, without a DRC. I played blue-red variants with Ledger Shredder. Ledger Shredder was very good. Really liked it. Yeah, I decided to counter fetch there, but maybe that wasn't like that relevant. I should have waited for them. They would definitely do the cookbook, and they also had the Urza Saga. I should have been a bit more patient with the Tidebinder. I think that would win me the game. But okay, so I countered the fetch, uh, but that fetch just wasn't really relevant. I could have countered the cookbook there, prevent them from using the cookbook, which in this point makes their construct larger, and also makes a lot of food if they draw Asmo. And I was able to counter their Urza Saga second ability. This means they can't make constructs, and opponent decides to actually hardcast their Daredevil. I don't have much options there, so I decide maybe I should have attacked, but I have to wait a turn until the Urza Saga dies. If I attacked there and they traded, they could potentially make a construct in their main phase. So I blocked the Daredevil, and now I'm tapped with another Tidebinder on the field, attacking Spell Pierce and Unholy Heat in hand. Nothing is lost, but as I said, I could have been in a much better situation. Opponent cycles the street rate and again hardcasts the Daredevil. This time I have Heat. Yeah, unfortunately my draws were not good, but also my opponent draws were also pretty mediocre. Finally I got to use the Spell Pierce, and now I know, yeah, only card opponent has right now is Daredevil in hand, and they draw the Inti. This card can really be crazy in this deck, and they discard Daredevil, gets the Saga, equip Shadow Spirit Inti. This is, yeah, I completely forgot about Shinka there, and that was another mistake in this game that, yeah, that lost me this game. And yeah, I just consider, so now they're untapping with Inti, discarding Daredevil, getting the draw, making a large construct, then doing the cookbook to do another draw with Inti, and yeah, Inti just dominates the game from this point. Also has a lifelink, and I can't really win anymore. It was a huge mistake there, not to counter, not to hold a binder for another turn, try to counter the Saga or cookbook. Actually, it's my draws were just so bad. I guess it wasn't that big of mistake. I just needed something from the top. I didn't get it, but that is magic, and that is totally fine. Okay, so let's check out game 2. Okay, so pretty good hand, starting off with Ragavan. Yeah, but this Inti Saga, I think it has a lot of potential. I'm not sure, like I can't tell you which version of this deck is the best. I've been playing a bunch of different variants, And yeah, unfortunately I went for Preordain here, but didn't find the land. I did have like a Delirium for the channeler, so that was something, because I had 3 channelers there. But yeah, my opponent, when they start doing this thing, it's like really hard to win. And yeah, so the Inti plus cookbook and is really insane. Also lately I've been playing Ledger Shredder in the blue-red variants of this list with some pierces, rebukes on the sideboard, and I'm really satisfied with it. At the moment of speaking, I'm 3-0 in the first league with the Shredder in it, and the Shredder is looking like really insane. It's doing incredible job drawing cards and synergizing with Inti. So there are just a lot of cheap spells in the deck, like Moxember, Mishra Bauble, Bolts, all the 1 mana creatures, and you can really for 1 or 2 mana get the Ledger Shredder ability each turn, which leaves you enough mana to cast the cards you find from Inti. And I decided to cut the street raids from the list because they were awkward when exiled with Inti ability, and there were just 4 more cards that you were not able to cast with Inti ability. Also, that would happen actually quite a lot, and also. Yeah, I struggled with mana a lot there, but I had decent chance. I played my Murktide as a 6/6 there with a counterspell backup, and the next turn I was on 2 life, and I blocked the Ragavan, and next turn I had a free block channeler. I just have to hold, and I was like really confident about winning this game. So Tidebinder Counterspell in my hand means I can counter most of the stuff they do or draw, and I have a free block here for the Murktide, blocking just this channeler. I had to use a counterspell there to counter the heat, and I got the free block from the Murktide. Opponent passes the turn, and now I also got Flame of Anor from the top, so I was safe from most stuff they can do. Yeah, opponent goes for a cookbook there to return a creature from the graveyard. I countered that ability, so they sack cookbook for nothing. Also, Tidebinder lets me lets me attack for 9 there, putting them on 1 life. Yeah, so I can go like with Murktide, or I can go with both and risk this, but I had Flame of Anor in my hand and Expressive Iteration, so I was okay with going with both. I also decided to risk everything and just hoping to find the land with Expressive. I find it, so I can go for Flame of Anor if needed. Opponent sacks a bunch of food tokens, so they get to survive another turn. Maybe I should have played, explosives before combat there and go and try to attack with both creatures. Again, opponent sacking food tokens and preparing to make a construct. But I have explosives to kill all foods, all constructs. Okay, so they trigger their second saga ability before they can find Pitting Needle or whatever. I crack the explosives to kill the construct and all the food tokens. I also went for Flame of Anor, drawing 2 cards, and I really thought like if they don't top deck the kill this turn, this game is over. opponent hard casts their last card in hand, all chase Daredevil, and I have everything right now. I have just everything, and yeah, I was thinking about options, trying to play around as much stuff as I can, and I was also like discussing with myself about not attacking at all, just passing the turn. I was thinking about options, what they could find, but I didn't really think about Sokenzan. And yeah, I can't believe they got me with Sokenzan for 1 damage there. Didn't really expect that. Yeah, I could have holded the Flame of Anor. I had a lot of options, but didn't decide for a right one. And this could easily maybe be a trophy league, but I missed it there. And that is it. Opponent got me with Sokenzan, and really fun, intensive matches. And that is it. I really liked Murktide at the moment. This meta game right now is a bit shaky because new edition is there. Everybody's trying new stuff, but I expect this new edition to really shake up the meta well. And the new decks that are appearing are very good against scam. I was playing that Inti Saga deck. I didn't lose a single game to scam. It has so much stuff to fight scam. Asmo is great against it. Just every game you get access to the cookbooks, you make a bunch of tokens. At the moment you put Asmo on the field, the game is completely over. Also a lot of removals. In the main you can play more in the side if needed, and all the mana cards are cheap and efficient, and a lot of card draw going on with Inti and Urza Saga, and that is it. Okay, but this deck also it's another deck that really incorporates the Tidebinder very well, and Tidebinder fits this tempo strategy excellent, like just casting this countering a fetch can be insane. Also lot of abilities in each deck. In this particular league we played against 2 creativity decks, which is absolutely unusual, and and also the Beanstalk deck. So these 2 matchups are not the matchups where a Tidebinder shines. Tidebinder shines against Cascade decks. It shines against decks with like we played this last match, like when they're playing Urza Saga, cookbook, stuff like that. That is like really good. Also against scam, you can counter undying effects. You can counter the evoke abilities. Not the evoke abilities, but the effects of evoke elementals. Doughty, when they sack it, their ability from the Doughty. Those are all like very relevant abilities you can counter with Tidebinder, and they can decide the match very easily. And that's it. Okay, so lot of uses for Tidebinder. We still have to realize the full strength of it and full use of it, but I think it's very good addition to the list. Makes some of the matchups much easier, especially like stuff like Amulet Titan. There's like so much stuff you can counter there. With the Tidebinder you can counter the Amulet, you can counter the Titan, you can counter Saga, you can counter the Ring. It's really good into that matchup, and Amulet is like really strong and really prevalent at the moment, so that also very important. Okay, so that is it. How do I like 4 Tidebinders? I really like 4. After this gameplay, I would not cut a single Tidebinder, although this particular league we saw was not a good example of all those creativity matches. Not a great example where Tidebinder is really good, but there are a lot of. I played other decks, similar decks with Tidebinder in it, and the Tidebinder was incredibly useful, and I can really see it helping decks, some of the decks hard matchups, like beating Tron very easily with it, not just depending on your counter spells. and drawing Murktides or Blood Moons or whatever, because they can very easily deal with all of that, but they have high problems like dealing with Tidebinder, countering their mass removal spells, Oblivion Stones, stuff like that, the One Ring of course, Karn or whatever. Okay, yeah, so that is it. Pretty happy with Tidebinder, and as I said, I would either play 3 or 4 of the Tidebinders. But I'm not sure, like maybe 3 is probably a perfect number, but at the moment I'm still going to be on 4 of those until I test it some more. And but that is it for today. Thank you for watching. Hope you like the gameplay. Friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe. Tell me about your experience playing Tidebinder in the Murktide shells, and yeah, how many copies do you prefer? You can write that down in the comments. And that is it for today. Again, thank you for watching and goodbye.